Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversation with the Cabin We the Species. This is actually the first minute of this is a sizzle reel why you should be watching this particular interview with William BRANUM, a 26-year veteran of the U.S. Navy SEALs. This is extraordinary because the lessons of life for you all out there are so powerful. What he's accomplished, what he's doing with Naked Warrior Recovery, it's endless. And I'm urging, like I've never urged before. There are so many lessons about life, and we're going to talk about it. But there are 5 SEAL secrets, and if you all out there, I can almost promise, if you all out there absorb William and this wonderful time he's going to give us. About 5 secrets to think like a Navy SEAL. Navy SEAls are unlike anybody on earth. Never quit, accept failure, kill mediocrity, expose your fears, do the work. This is powerful stuff. So this is the end with a sizzle reel. Why you should watch this. It might change your life. Okay, sizzle reel over. And moving on, I am so thrilled. I'm so thrilled with the universe, actually, for putting William and I together, and it didn't happen too long ago. By the way, today's July 31st, chronologically speaking, and William is 5 hours away from me. Still here in America. Is it 6 hours?
6 hours.
6. Right,
in the winter, we'll be 5 hours apart, but in the summer, it's 6 hours.
Oh, so
because we don't move our clock here in Hawaii.
Oh, okay. So 6 hours apart, Hawaii, and I'm just so thrilled because it's endless what we're gonna talk about, William. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show.
And
I'm
hey,
pretty excited.
It goes without saying, thanks for your service and all, and I can't even imagine, but read into that. It's extraordinary. So why don't you kind of do a little bit of a bio, and then I'm gonna kind of ask you to, right after your bio, to life. You might dying to hear this. Life as a Navy SEAL. Take it away, William, and thank you.
Let's see, just a little about me. I grew up in Meridian, Mississippi. Not a lot going on there, but it's where I grew up. I was heavily involved in the Boy Scouts. That turned me on to wanting to become a commando at some point in my life. My role models growing up were John Rambo, Chuck Norris, John Wayne, who was a Green Beret in Vietnam, the movie Green Beret. So I always knew that I wanted to be some sort of elite commando. I didn't really know what a Navy SEAL was. There was no books, no movies, no internet, nothing like that back in the day. And I also wanted to be a ninja because, I watched a lot of Kung Fu theater. And so I wanted to be some sort of elite special forces something. I don't even think I knew the word special forces back then. And a ninja. So someone told me about the Navy SEALs. It's the hardest training in the world. They're the best at working at small tactical units. And like, if you want to be, a ninja, you should become a Navy SEAL. So I was like, okay, where do I sign up? And then the Navy recruiter called me one day, just out of the blue. And he said, have you ever thought about joining the Navy? And I said, of course. Actually, my initial reaction prior to someone telling me about what a Navy SEAL was, I was like, no way, Jose. There's a naval air station in my town, and all the kids that are like fresh out of boot camp and they're sort of on probation, and they act like a bunch of idiots in the mall, and I kind of hated it. And they have the ugliest uniform on the planet. The Marines, on the other hand, they have like the best uniform. And, the commercials, they're out there like fighting dragons with swords. And I was like, the Marines, they got it together. The Navy, they're walking around with bell bottoms and like, they kind of look like they're in a prison uniform. And so I wasn't really down with that. But if I wanted to become a Navy SEAL, I had to join the Navy. So I said yes, went down to the recruiting station. I watched a really cheesy video, and the rest is history.
Life, anything unusual? I mean, the training, I mean, I can't even And I'm not talking about deployments or anything, 'cause that's not within the realm, and I don't, but like, what has life been? I mean, it's pretty intense life as a Navy SEAL, correct? I mean, beyond.
You're certainly busy. You're busy all the time, but you know what? I wouldn't trade my experiences in the SEAL teams for anything. My good experiences and my bad experiences, because you know those experiences have helped to shape who I am. You know, because there's a lot of adversity that goes through. You know, just SEAL training. It took me, first of all, it took me 3 years after I joined the Navy just to get to SEAL training. And then SEAL training is 6 months long, BUDS, basic underwater demolition SEAL training. And then it's 6 months long. And it took me a short 13 months to get through that training because I continued to get hurt. I made some tactical errors. The 3 years, you know, getting there, I made some errors. I failed some stuff because I didn't prepare properly. And so, and then I made some decisions without consulting any sort of counsel. And just thinking that I knew everything, and I certainly didn't. Or maybe I was scared to ask someone. That was probably more likely, that I was scared to ask someone. And I found myself on a ship in Yokosuka, Japan for 2 years. And then when it was time for me to leave that ship, because the Navy, they don't care about Navy SEALs. The Navy cares about putting people on these big gray boats out in the middle of the ocean. And the job that I was doing out there on that ship was a very critical skill set to the Navy. And when it was time for me to leave that ship, the guy who sends people to different ships for the job that I was doing, he said, I will not let you go to SEAL training. You're too critical to the Navy, and therefore you cannot go. So, you know, I did my time. I did my service. I, you know, performed very well. And you know, everyone on the ship, you know, I had letters of recommendation. The detailer, he said, no way, Jose. And so the chief of naval operations, who is the highest ranking person in the Navy, he is just to kind of give you an idea of how senior he is, the only people who are senior to him is the Secretary of Defense and the President of the United States. Oh. So he came to my ship in Yokosuka, Japan. You know, I'm at the end of my time on the ship. I have done a pretty good job. I'm still a very junior person. And he has like CNO's call. And he talks about, you know, the Navy. I have no idea what he said or what he talked about because it wasn't relevant to me. and that's how we all are in everything. If something, we hear something, if it's not relevant to us, we don't really hear it until it's relevant to us. And then we actually pay attention. But you know, then he said, does anyone have any questions? And I raised my hand and I said, yeah, I joined the Navy to be a SEAL. I think I deserve a chance to go. My detailer won't let me go, but because he says I'm too critical, but I think I deserve a chance to go. I mean, that's why I joined the Navy. And so he turns to my commanding officer and he says, is he a good guy? And I did talk to my commanding officer. I didn't like jump the entire chain of command to the top. And told him that I was going to ask the CNO if he would let me go to BUDS. And my commanding officer said, yeah, he was the sailor of the quarter this quarter. So the CNO turns back to me. He says, copy that. You'll be in the first class after your PRD, which is planned rotational date. After the CNO Q&A thing was over, the most senior enlisted guy. So in the military, you have officers and enlisted. And so college degree and this kind of leadership, maybe college degree, maybe not. And, but you're more of like leading the actual men and women of the service. So and they work together. You know, an officer always has an enlisted guy, you know, to help officers make policy, the enlisted influence the policy. It's kind of like that. And so the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, the most senior enlisted guy in the Navy, came down, took my social security number, and he said, hey, good for you for asking. I tried it. It wasn't for me. Now the easy part's done. Now go off and do great things. So I had a lot of weight on my shoulders leaving that. But I called, you know, Washington, D.C. that night, like 2 hours later, and I asked the SEAL detailer, had he heard anything about my package? Because he couldn't do anything until my detailer said, I'm good to go. And he's like, what's your name? My BRANUM. He said, yeah, I mailed your orders out this morning. So the speed of information from the time that I asked the question till it got to DC, which was 12 hours, time difference, was, I don't think today it could have gone any faster with cell phones and internet, and there was no internet or anything like that back in the day. So, I mean, no one even knew really what a Navy SEAL was. There was a Navy SEAL movie. There were a few books, but no one even, like, there was no war going on. So there was no like sex appeal to it like there is today. So, so that's how it took me 3 years just to get to SEAL training. And so that was like kind of some foreshadowing of adversity that I was going to face pretty much throughout my career. And again, lots of failures, lots of successes, and those failures and successes are what have brought me to where I am today.
Which is a good segue. I was going to do this later, but what a I pulled this off from one of your sites. It's called 5 SEAL Secrets. Learn to think as a Navy SEAL. And in the sizzle reel, I briefly talked about that, but I listen, I looked it over, and this is so critical, I think. And I spent 25 years working for a very big corporation, and I learned a lot of things in some ways similar to the Navy, big. But you have, and I just think this is so important, especially for young people. And I have this affinity for Gen Z people. I've done a lot of interviews with Gen Z people. But my thinking, William, if young people can sort of live by some of these things, the 5 secrets to think like a Navy SEAL are: never quit. Actually, it spells out the word naked, which is your T-shirt, and you're going to talk about
Get
that.
naked, baby. This is what we're talking about. We're going to talk
We're
about
going to talk
getting
about
naked.
that. Never quit. Accept failure. Kill mediocrity. Expose your fears. Do the work. If you wanted a real quick, and then are you ready to get naked? If you want to really, let's just kind of dissect that.
So I developed that document really as and we'll talk about, the things that I'm doing now were part of things that I needed to help my own self. So as I transitioned from the military, I retired as an E8, and as an E8, you're only allowed to stay in for 26 years. An E9 can go to 30, and if you're doing like a very specific job, you could maybe go 30 or 32 years, but you're working at like the very highest levels that don't really appeal to me. Like really the bureaucracy, and I didn't like the bureaucracy, so that was not something that I was really interested in pursuing. So I'm much more of a tactical level. Let's solve problems. Let's do things that are going to immediately impact and influence change. And so, but because of that, that costs something. And so what that cost me is I could only stay in for 26 years. And so because of that, when I retired, I wasn't really prepared to retire. I was very engaged in the team that I was a part of, or the teams, the community, the missions. I knew every morning when I woke up and I went to work, I knew what I was going to do. I knew who I was going to do it for. I knew how I was going to do it. I knew that there were going to be adversities, and I was going to have to figure out ways to solve those problems. And then when I retired, I lost the team. I lost the mission. I lost the purpose. I lost, income. I lost pretty much everything that I've lived in my entire adult life. My entire adult life I've spent in the military. And then so my income went down. I had financial responsibilities that went up, which is weird. And so I was in kind of a dark place, very, I don't want to say depressed, but I certainly had baggage. I don't say the word PTSD generally. I say I just had baggage. And, baggage can come in all shapes and sizes. It can be, from, toxic relationships. It can come from, what you hear in the media. It can come from, someone cut you off in front of you and now you're carrying around this anger. It can come from all sorts of places. And I was using, and I have all this noise in my head, which didn't let me sleep at night. And so I would generally just drink myself to sleep at night, 2, 3, 4, 5 glasses, not like shots. I mean, glasses of vodka or some other booze, and just to like turn the noise off and then basically pass out. That is not a way to live. That's not a way to function the next day. And so it took me a long time to kind of get through that. But one of the things that helped me was CBD. So a friend of mine, you know, I had heard about CBD, but because I still maintain a top secret clearance, I wasn't going to go down that road of CBD because it's associated with marijuana, or so I thought. And actually at the time it was. And then I'm also a child of Nancy Reagan's War on Drugs, Just Say No. So I was still like apprehensive. I'd heard like stuff about it. CBD became legal when hemp became legal in when at the passing of the Farm Bill in 2018, December 20th of 2018. So really 2019 is when hemp and CBD became legal. So it's a brand new industry, but people were talking about it, you know, for years before. And I remember listening to a podcast and they were talking about, you know, medical marijuana. And then the guy that was the host, he said, you know, everyone knows about THC and the benefits of THC, but most people don't know this other molecule that has, you know, it decreases anxiety and stress. It helps people sleep. It decreases chronic inflammation, and it helps with, you know, certain kinds of epilepsy, and that people don't really know about this. And it's called CBD. And so that always kind of stuck in the back of my mind. And as I, you know, got closer to my time of getting out of the Navy, I became more interested, and then I retired, and then I was like struggling, you know, mentally how to deal with not having a mission, a purpose, or anything, a why. I don't have a why anymore. And so a friend of mine gave me a bottle of CBD, and that night I slept a little bit better, and maybe I was a little less pissed off in the next morning. But I didn't notice anything fantastic about it. But what I noticed after about 30 days of taking CBD, I like to say water boils at 212 degrees. I was probably living at 210 degrees. So my fuse was very short. Right. But over about that 30-day period, I went from like 210 to 205 to 200 to 190, maybe 185. Wow. And so my fuse got longer. And something else that I noticed was that these pains that I have in my body, 26 years of you know, running and gutting and getting beat up. I got some injuries. I got some pain. I got stuff. And so these sharp stabbing pains that I have in my body when I do certain movements, they weren't quite as sharp. They were a little bit more dull, and made my quality of life was just better. Wow. And so I stopped taking it, and then I started moving back towards that 210 to 212 degrees. I tried another brand of CBD. I had similar results. And then I was at a business conference, and you know, I'm very interested in the CBD industry now, and this was in 2019, and I'd only been trying CBD for just a few months, but it made such an impact on my life. I want to learn more about the industry. I want to learn more about this thing, and I met someone, and I really wanted to work for her and learn and whatever. And she said, "Why don't you start your own company?" And I was like, I don't know how to start a CBD company. And she said, "You're a Navy SEAL. Go figure it out." Oh, all right. Well, you just pulled my man card on me. So I'm going to go figure it out. So as I started, and I'll get to your question in just a second. But as I started going down the road of, you know, the CBD industry and started researching, what I found is most products on the market don't have CBD in them, or they have high levels. And this is from FDA going out and doing spot checks from, like, you know, gas stations to smoke shops to online stores. And they found that most products out there either don't have the CBD they say they have in them. They have high levels of THC above the 0.3%, which is legal, which is what hemp is. For it to be called hemp, it has to be 0.3% or less in the dried weight of the hemp. You know, there were heavy metals, there arsenic, lead, mercury, solvents, because people were just going out and, like, you know, growing marijuana, basically extracting that the oil out of it. They're not doing anything to process it. They're not doing anything to clean it. They're using very dirty methods to extract the oil, putting it in a bottle and selling it. And it's just they were selling bottles of olive oil or MCT oil and calling it CBD oil or hemp oil. And so I found out that the industry was very dirty, like incredibly dirty, Wild West. And so what I started to do is I started to look for the highest quality suppliers that I could find. And I still am looking for higher quality suppliers. I can't find any. There are big names in the CBD industry with lots of money behind them, and they don't do as good of a job as the suppliers that I use. As a matter of fact, I've listened to different interviews with some of these players, and they actually reference the supplier that I use and say, we don't take it to that level.
Wow.
Because we don't think we don't think we need it. But but again, my suppliers, the oil is extracted from the hemp plant. That oil is taken to a independent third-party lab and tested to make sure that it has what it has and says what it says. And then when those lab results come back, then they turn that into the actual product, whether it's a dropper that you put under your tongue, whether it's gummies, whether it's soft gel pills or topical solutions. Then when they turn it into those final products, they send the final product off and then have it tested again. What most companies that actually do independent third-party testing do, they test the oil, but they don't test the final product. And so there can be some contamination somewhere along the way that they didn't catch. They believe that it's not happening, but it could happen. So the quality of product that we sell is the highest in the market. So I started, CBD helped me to turn off that noise in my head. But once I had that noise turned off, I still had a lot of work to do. I still needed to get my mind right. I needed to figure out what my mindset was, what my why was. Why am I starting a company? Why am I doing this? And so that forced me to put in more effort. Like, how do I get my mind right? How do I get my message right? How do I figure out who the hell I am and what I'm supposed to do? And that forced me into this, the 5 SEAL secrets and the get naked mindset. So the Naked Warrior recovery, the Naked Warrior is really the predecessor to today's Navy SEAL. And, if you've ever seen the movie Saving Private Ryan, that the beginning scene of Normandy, prior to that scene, prior to that assault on Normandy,
brutal. By the way, that was brutal.
It was. I believe it's pretty accurate as well.
I don't think I've ever, even the sound of the bullets piercing, entering the body, even that sound. I mean, about that stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
It was way accurate. Continue.
So using that campaign, if you will, the Navy, prior to that assault on the beach, the Navy went out and found volunteers who knew how to swim and were pretty good with demo. And what these guys did is they got together, they figured out a plan. They took, they're on a big Navy ship out in the ocean overlooking, there's land up there. They took a little rubber boat into about 200-300 yards off of the beach to get in the water. They would swim to shore. They would take a reconnaissance of the beach, taking notes on a piece of slate. And then they would get back in the water and they would be about 25 yards apart. They would measure the depth of the water with a rock, a piece of string that had knots every 6 feet. And because 6 feet is a fathom, and that's how you read, the depth of water on nautical charts. They would measure the depth of the water, mark it on their slate. And when everyone had they're in a nice straight line, they're taking fire from the beach, by the way, by, these machine gun nests that are,
right,
bunkers. And then they would dive down, look for obstacles underwater. If they found an obstacle, they would swim about 25 yards underwater, look for obstacles. If they found an obstacle, they would, and they came up, they would mark it on their slate and they would measure and mark and measure and go and do that, 3,000 to 5,000 yards of beach a night. Go back to the ship, build a chart. And that's the chart that the assault force used to assault Normandy. Wow. And then hours before the assault, before that Saving Private Ryan, moment, these guys went back in. They placed demo charges on lanes of assault. They put demo charges on any obstacles on the beach that they could. They put demo charges on obstacles underwater where the landing craft, if they got hung up, they would, the guys running off the landing craft wouldn't drown. And then, they got out of the way. And as, the assault force is starting, they blew the demo, and it was, giant precursor to the actual assault coming in. So they cleared lanes, they cleared obstacles, and that was the predecessor of today's Navy SEAL. So fast forward, then they decommissioned that unit. Like, we don't need you anymore. And then the island campaign of the Pacific, where Marines are coming in, they're hitting these barrier reefs. They think they're in 3 feet of water. They run off the edge of the reef and they drown in 30 feet of water. So they recommissioned these underwater demolition teams, and they went back out, and they were, sort of the pre-assault. They cleared beaches. They did the surveys.
Yeah.
And then those guys were all called underwater demolition team. Then fast forward to Vietnam, 1962, JFK changed from UDT to U.S. Navy SEAL. And so that is today's Naked Warrior. So Naked Warrior Recovery is about, the name is kind of behind, my lineage as a SEAL, but it's also about, this is the kind of the other side of it is, we walk through life and we have this ego on, we have this armor because we've been attacked from whatever, this baggage that we carry around. So we carry around armor and ego and baggage from other people, and maybe it's our own baggage. And at some point we have to take that, and it weighs us down, and we're like struggling, and we don't know how to, get to the next thing or do the next thing, or we just feel sorry for ourselves. But what we have to do is we have to take that armor off. We have to take that ego off, take that baggage off, and get naked and expose ourselves and be a little bit vulnerable in order to find the healing that we need, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally. That's part of what Get Naked is all about.
Heavy.
I gave you a lot of stuff right there, and I
did.
still haven't even answered your question.
Wow. You know what? I just have to lighten. It's just so heavy. I just want to lighten this just for a moment. I did notice when I met you a few days ago for the first time, there's a picture of Saddam Hussein behind you on the wall. Could you tell folks what that is? That is Saddam Hussein. We discussed that.
That is a picture of Saddam Hussein. So in 2005, when we deployed to Iraq, we were our original mission was to protect the interim government of Iraq, the Iraqi officials. And the official that we were assigned to, my platoon was assigned to, did not want an American presence around him because he thought that would diminish his ability to be reelected. So he said, I don't want Americans. And so they sent us back down to the Baghdad International Airport area. And we conducted, sort of the traditional SEAL mission, direct action operations. And our first mission, I had 22 guys in my platoon. Our first mission, I had 7 targets that I had to hit in one night. And so I had to request people from all across the West, and also people that were doing kind of the security mission, because I didn't have enough people. I had 22 people. I needed a lot more people. And, I had never done an operation of that size ever in my life. And here I am, I'm 11, 12 years in the Navy. I think the biggest group of people that I've kind of managed on the battlefield was maybe like 35 or 40. And now I have 76 people that are really answering. I'm coordinating, where I'm clearing rooms, and I'm still doing kind of the coordination piece of it. There are some mistakes that I made. I certainly learned from it. But one of the targets that we hit, we ended up going and hitting 3 targets at the same time with the SEALs that I was with. And then there was an agency led Iraqi group of special operations guys, agency funded and trained, and they hit another target, or 2 more targets. And so 7, 8, 9 targets that we hit that night. And I think on the second target that my group hit, there was this guy. There was a picture of this guy in the house. And apparently, when he was in charge, he required everyone in the country to have a picture of him in his house. And if you know, the police came and did a spot check on your house and you didn't have a picture of Saddam, then you went to jail. And so he was certainly a tyrant, if you will. And so that was, you know, when we're like, you know, wrapping up bad guys and collecting evidence and things like that. That was some of the evidence that we brought back. And then someone turned, like, it was a big picture. And then someone, you know, wrote some stuff on it, turned it into a postcard, and then we put that on our plaque. Wow, from that deployment. That's great. So that was kind of cool.
That's very cool. It's very, very cool. And it's funny, when we met the other night and we're talking for like an hour, I keep staring at that picture and I'm saying to myself, gosh, that looks like Saddam Hussein.
It is.
And it's funny, I mentioned this to you, I had watched maybe a week ago a series on, I think it was Netflix, the Making of a Tyrant.
Yep.
And it was a tutorial, kind of lighthearted, but not lighthearted, on the ingredients of making how to become a tyrant.
Right. And you can use your powers for good, or you can use it for evil.
Yeah. You know, of course, they talk about Hitler and Stalin, and Saddam was right up there, and Idi Amin, and it was like a textbook. You know, how to become a tyrant, which is a good segue. So, why did you start? It's not a segue, but it's the next question. Why did you start Naked Warrior Recovery?
So I started it because CBD helped me. It helped positively impact my life, change a little bit of my mental clarity, turn off some of that noise, helped with some physical pains that I had, but also, you know, it was about helping veterans and first responders as well, because, you know, in the military, and I don't know what it is for police officers or first responders or anyone else, but I know in the military, the Veterans Affairs has gone out and done surveys, and they have found that 22 veterans take their lives every single day. And so we've lost more veterans to suicide than we have in 20 years of sustained combat, because this is the 20th year of 9/11 happening. Wow. And we've been in pretty much sustained combat ever since. So we've lost more veterans to suicide than we have to
22 a day.
22 a day. And actually, as of November 2020, the VA did another survey, and they estimate that number has actually gone up to 26 a day.
Wow.
So part of the mission of Naked Warrior Recovery is take that 22 to 0. And, you know, kind of the way we're trying to do that, one, CBD as a modality, CBD doesn't cure anything, but it certainly helps. It helps reduce stress, reduce anxiety. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not saying this as medical fact. It is, but there are more and more PubMed articles and studies coming out every day, because, you know, CBD was illegal until, you know, 2 years ago. And now it's much more prevalent. There's CBD all over the place, gas stations, every corner there's a CBD shop. And, you know, you should really be careful, kind of off of what I was talking about earlier. Be careful about what CBD you put in your body, because, you know, if you're putting something in that's going to be a medicine, you don't want to be putting poisons in along with it. So, but kind of going back to that mission, why we did it, you know, CBD is why we started Naked Warrior Recovery. CBD is a modality to help you get there, but the get naked mindset, the never quit, accept failure, kill mediocrity, and expose your fears and do the work. That's sort of the other piece of it. You can't have one without the other. There's work that has to be done in order to get better. You know, CBD will help your body heal itself, but there's other work that you have to do, whether it's mental work, physical work, emotional work. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done. Even if you think you're healthy and active and whatever, you can't sit on the couch, scroll Netflix and eat, you know, Cheetos and Doritos and be healthy and get better. That's not going to help you do it.
So this is important. And we discussed this before we went on air, and folks are going to be seeing across the bottom of the screen all your contact information, and most importantly, your website. nw-recovery.com/. But what's really important, what you decided, because there's a plethora of products there, because this part of this, I mean, this is your focus and your energy and your get naked. There's a plethora of products, which I told you, I said it on my own. You know, I have some knee problems, and I've done everything that you can do. So I'm signing up and I'm going there. And then you very graciously said, hey, you know, 20% discount. And why don't we extend that to everybody? So if folks go to the website and there's products there that they're interested in, and of course they can always contact you. But if they put in the discount code of Calvin 20,
that's it.
Calvin 20, you'll get a 20% discount on that. And I can assure you that 1 hour after we've exited this interview, I will be there. I will be there, and I will be ordering. I did mention, William, to you that I had watched a video. I think I did. This is way off topic, but I'd watched a video a couple of weeks ago. It was a video about making an oil. One of the ingredients was CBD and a couple other things, and it was a topical thing. And by the way, that infomercial hooked me for 45 minutes. I don't know if I told you this.
You did, yeah, when we first spoke, yeah.
Yeah, and early on, and I don't ever like to mess with, you know, religious stuff, but they were saying how in 333 AD, somebody translated the Bible from whatever it was into a more modern, and apparently in the old version of the Bible, going way back, before 333, they had talked about cannabis, you know, CBD. Yep. And whomever did the translating mistook that and wrote something else, so that was removed. And I'm not saying anything here other than this is supposition. And somebody out there made a 45-minute, 50-minute video, which I exited out of. Because it was enough. But but anyway, Calvin 20 discount code. And now we're gonna move along. Could you put your finger on any particular kind of lessons? I mean, this fascinates me so much, because I was never part of military life. And I came out of the 60s when there was a war. But I never served, and I think about that all the time, having not served. And part of my regret is I think it would have made me a better person, and would have learned more things about myself and about doing for others and the camaraderie. But anyway, are there any particular lessons and things you've taken out of that military time?
There's tons. I mean, really, that whole get naked mindset, never quit, accept failure, kill mediocrity, expose your fears, and do the work is it's really a culmination of those 26 years of mindset training, of trying to be better every single day. You know, in the SEAL teams, I had, you know, it didn't matter if a guy was more senior to me or more junior to me. They were always pushing me to be better. Like, they expected me to perform at a higher level today than I did yesterday. And I expected that of them. You know, it goes both ways. You know, if someone shows up to work and they're not feeling awesome, or they're like, you know, kind of maybe feeling sorry for themselves, or maybe they have an actual issue that they need to deal with, you know, we help them deal with that problem. But if it's just a personal, like, I don't feel like working out today, I don't feel like doing something today, that's not okay. You're going to do it. You're going to do it better. You're going to do it, you know, 0.00001% better than you did yesterday. And that's how we all get better. And that's really, again, going back to that get naked mindset, 5 ways to think like a Navy SEAL. But kind of a bonus. So I'll give you 2 things. Number one, about you, before the interview, we kind of talked about leadership. and lessons from leadership. And so one of the lessons, the biggest lesson I think in leadership that I learned is that leadership is not about telling people what to do or even how to do it. Leadership is about service. Leadership is about serving the people who are doing the work. Leadership is about, you see like sort of these memes of like, some people say leaders are in the back pushing everyone. Some people say the leader's in the front pulling the rope. Leadership is about being of service, and kind of a way to put that into perspective is, oftentimes in the military, we eat at some sort of military dining facility, and no matter what, the officers always eat last. Like there's this sort of, if rank has its privileges and you get, the best food and the best whatever, the best service, if you're like, the elite of the military, the officer side of it. But really, they're required to eat last. They get their, like all of the enlisted guys, the deck place leaders, the people who are actually out there grinding and getting it done. And it doesn't matter if it's in the military, if it's in business, sales, whatever it is. Those are the people who are moving the needle for your company, for the nation, for whatever the organization is. The police officers, the ER nurses, the docs, those are the people who are making it happen. And so the admin leaders, they eat last because their job is to take care of those people who are actually doing the work that support the mission. And so that was one of the biggest lessons I learned. I mean, I was, when I was an early leader, I didn't know that. I thought like, hey, this needs to get done, go do that. And I later learned through lots of failure that the way to get people to do something that you need them to do is to help them, serve them, train them, educate them, and take care of them. They will be more than happy to do what you ask them to do. If you need it done quickly, there's a way to ask, there's a way to get that out there. So that was one of the biggest, I think, leadership lessons that I learned in the military, is that a leader is about being of service. Wow. The other kind of lesson that I can give you right here is, and I learned this when I was a sniper and also as a sniper instructor, and it applies to everything that you do in life. If you're just kind of being mediocre and you're not really, maybe you're plateaued in like your success in your training and whatever your studies, and you're writing something, do make bold adjustments. Like people try to do like micro adjustments along the way. Like this isn't working, this isn't working. This is like, if you just get to this point where things just aren't working for you in your life, make bold adjustments. And the way that I equate that to like, military action is, as a sniper in a platoon, or even as a sniper instructor, I'm the most educated on how to sight in a weapon. And even though SEALs are all really good at shooting, they're not all really good at sighting in guns. Some guys are good at, communication. Some guys are good at medical. Not everyone is really good at like sighting in your rifle. And so sometimes guys will just like, they'll make these small adjustments on their dial of their sight or their scope or whatever they're using. And the bullets just never seem to quite move towards the bullseye where they're trying to hit. Wow. And so I'll just come over and I'll say, just turn that knob like 4 times. Like they're making like little teeny tiny clicks, and it's like 32 clicks to make a full rotation. I'm like, do 4 full rotations of that thing. Bold adjustments. Move that dial and see where the bullets land, and then correct off of that. Now you come back like 2 full adjustments and you're closer, and then you can do those little minor maneuver adjustments to move the bullet into the center of the bullseye. And so in life, if you're stuck and like the things that you're working on doesn't work for you, make bold adjustments. Like I think Tim Ferriss said, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And so, when he started, before he was like a Uber podcast guy and, did the 4-hour work week, he was like doing sales of like cloud-based technology, something. And, he was failing trying to sell, because there were these, back when we answered the phone, the gatekeepers, the secretaries were answering the phone and like, oh, Mr. Jones, he's busy right now, he can't really take your call, la la la. So what Tim did is he would make calls starting at like 5 a.m. to the office. Well, if it was like a driven CEO that was, in there trying to grow his company, he answered the phone because the secretary doesn't come in until 9. And so Tim like made those calls like early in the morning and late in the evening, when he knew that like if the person was there and they're like trying to grow their company, like the help isn't going to be there working those same hours. The driven leaders are going to be there and they'll answer the phone because it could be something important. So that, you know, if you are stuck somewhere in your life, make bold adjustments. Don't make these tiny little adjustments that may or may not make a difference. Do something extreme and then bring it back to the middle. Wow. And that will help you figure out like kind of where you're going to see actually what works and what doesn't work.
Wow. Bold adjustments. Love that. This is such great stuff to carry around with you. It's like, wow. And I know from my life that when you hear stuff like you're saying, it really works. The stuff works. You just got to do it.
You have to do the work.
Do the work. There you go.
Right. You have to get naked. You have to do the work.
Do the work. And you know what? If you do the work, it's going to pay off. Another little bit of an off topic that we've finished with Saddam over there. But I always like to ask this, William. It's kind of fun. So here's the scenario, living or dead, excluding family or friends, living or dead, somebody you'd like to spend the day with. Could be a couple people, could be no one.
These are always hard questions for me.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are.
Because it depends like where I am, like maybe what I'm reading or listening to, you know, may kind of drive me to one answer or another. And so right now I've finished the book Winning by Tim Grover. And for those of you who don't know who Tim Grover is, he was Michael Jordan's trainer. Wow. He was also Kobe Bryant's trainer. He was, wow, you know, the greatest basketball players of all time.
Yeah.
He's probably trained them. And, you know, the way that he started was, it's interesting. Like when Michael Jordan hired him, he didn't ask Michael Jordan to hire him. He wrote a letter. He was a brand new, you know, trainer that had zero experience really training. He had some school stuff and he had a different way of thinking about things. But he wrote a note, like a handwritten note to every Chicago Bulls basketball player except Michael Jordan, because he thought if Michael Jordan needed a trainer, he would already have one. And so Michael actually found that note in one of the other players' lockers. And he's like, who is this? What is this? What is this all about? And so he called up Tim and you know, he's like, this sounds too good to be true. How is this going to work? Okay, let's do it. And so now that I've finished, you know, both, the first book, Relentless, maybe, and the second book is Winning. Okay. You know, I have, you know, Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan in my head. So I would be very interested in sitting down with those two, and maybe even Tim Grover as well, sitting down with those guys and just to like absorb and get their mindset and get some of their drivenness. Right. Because, you know, Michael was absolutely driven every single day. You know, he had tons of failures. And when I talk about the get naked mindset, I bring up Michael Jordan as, you know, accept failure. You know, he's missed more than 3,000 shots in his career. And you know what he would do every time that he had a game and there were shots that he missed? After the game, even if they won, there's no celebration. He would go back to the gym that night and he would practice that shot over and over and over and over and over until he got it and he'd never missed again. And then the next time he missed, the same thing. And it was just this driven pursuit of perfection. And perfection never happens. But if you have this pursuit for perfection, you accept the failures. Yep, it happened. I learned from it. It's never going to happen again. Ready for the new failure, ready for the new success, and just keep driving. So Michael, Grover brings up both of those players in a similar fashion, just being relentlessly trying to improve themselves. Wow. And again, that goes right back to the get naked mindset. You never quit, you accept failure, you kill mediocrity, you expose your fears, and you do the work. And I would love to talk to Kobe and Michael and Grover on, really kind of doing a deep dive for a day. I only need a day because I can't handle much more than that in my tiny little brain.
Wow, great answer. It kind of educates me and opens me up to hear about this kind of stuff. I got to check that out. We're kind of winding down, and the two small other little topics. You and I discussed the other night about aging, and it's one of my favorite topics, anti-aging. And you brought up the topic of fasting and how valuable that is. So if you wanted to say a couple of words as we wind down about fasting.
So in my pursuit to become healthy, find a new mission, bring more value to the world, I've had to, and the value that I'm trying to bring to the world, these are things that have worked for me, and they're not easy always. Some of them are hard, and some of the stuff that I work on is mindset. And what I found is that fasting is becoming a little more popular. CBD is popular. Sleep isn't that popular, and somehow along the lines we found that there's this badge of honor if we have sleep deprivation. When has that ever been okay? Your body. So I think I asked you this before. What the Guinness Book of World Record is for people for the longest time for not sleeping? And the answer is there is no Guinness Book World Record for that, because if you go for a certain amount of time and not sleep, now in Hell Week in SEAL training, it's 5.5 days and you don't sleep. You actually sleep about 2.5 hours that week. And when we went to sleep and they got us up and they started yelling at us and made us get in the ocean again, it was the absolute worst moment of my life. That's a real Hell Week, like fraternities. You just go the whole time. They feed you, which is awesome, but but you just go, and they keep you perpetually wet and perpetually cold and perpetually miserable, and that's just the way that it is. But and you don't sleep, and about Thursday you start to hallucinate and see like weird things. But the Guinness Book World Record will not allow anyone to do a challenge to see how long they can stay awake, because literally not sleeping will kill you. It will make you chronically ill, and it will kill you if you go long enough. It's unethical for them to do that. Oh. It's safer to take an experimental hot air balloon in a space capsule into space and then skydive, free fall back to the Earth. That's safer than not sleeping for a lot of days. Oh. So, I mean, if you think about it that way. So sleep, I mean, my sleep is not awesome, but I do everything I can to maximize the quality of sleep that I get. I average about 6 hours a night. That's I want more. That's just what my body says. All right, get up and get out. And it doesn't matter what time I go to bed. But I try to get the highest quality of sleep. CBD helps me get there. And we have a sleep formula that helps me to kind of get to sleep a little bit faster. Let's see. The other thing is fasting. So the world, certainly America, has a very unhealthy relationship with food. I have an unhealthy relationship with food, and I thought I was doing pretty good. I did intermittent fasting and things like that. But I certainly let food control me, control how I felt. And when I changed, went from eating 3-4 meals a day to eating 2 meals a day, same number of calories, I stopped getting that kind of hangry, I'm low blood sugar, I'm angry, I gotta, eat something right now or I'm gonna explode. Doing kind of intermittent fasting helped that. And I was like, so maybe fasting will be better for me. And I'd heard other people talk about it, and it terrified the hell out of me. This is one of those expose your fears and do the work. And I wasn't going to accept failure here, but it certainly The first time I did a 3-day fast, I was very unhappy. The next fast I did was a 5-day fast, and it was actually easier than the first 3-day fast. And it was all in my mind. Like the first day was the hardest for me. I would see like, you know, my daughter would have a bowl of cereal and the milk is there on the table. Well, I wanted to drink it, and that's would not be okay. So when I would fast, so we have some super greens. There's no CBD in them. There's no calories in them either. They're just the micronutrients from plants. So we have some super greens. I would drink super greens, black coffee, water, tea, and the CBD energy drink, both, you know, because I try to do at least a gallon of water a day, and I add my CBD energy drink to it because it tastes good. You reduce inflammation and things like that. And so part of fasting is one, it's taking control of your mind. Food is not controlling you. Fear is not controlling you. And that's also part of exposing your fears. Like I was terrified. Like I wanted to eat. I didn't want to like freak out, and like, so I just had to stay busy the whole time. And the second day was easier, and the third day was a little bit harder. But fasting has been shown to increase longevity. It's been shown to reduce chronic inflammation. It's been shown to improve overall health. It's been shown to reduce blood pressure, reduce cholesterol. So when you're able to control your food and don't let your food control you, and when I talk about expose your fears, when you learn how to control your fears and your fears aren't able to control you, then you win. And then you get to live a long time, and you get to be a little bit happier, and you have a higher quality of life. And that's just all part of like this sort of get naked mindset.
Wow. In using a little of your parlance, my head is swimming, i.e. Navy. Well, my head is swimming with input from you in this time that we spent together. And I hope folks out there will extract some of your stuff or all your stuff, because it's living, and all the way around, it's a better quality of living. It's accomplishing. It's getting naked.
Because who doesn't like to get naked? I mean, let's just be real.
Well, I'm teasing. Yes, I mean all the way around. And again, I just want to remind everybody when they go to your website, Calvin 20 is a 20% discount, which, like I said, I'm going to do within the hour. Finally, the last thing I wanted to ask you is, I know you're coming east. There's a Navy SEAL Hudson River swim to raise money for vets and stuff coming up on August 7th. You are coming here. Just a quick little update on that for folks if they're.
So this will be the third year for this swim. So it's a fundraiser for the GIGO fund, GIGO. And what that fund does is it helps veterans really in the kind of New York, New Jersey area, primarily vets and first responders. Either, you know, I think I saw a stat today that like 1 in 7 homeless people are veterans. So it helps homeless vets, you know, provide some housing for them. They help find them new education, new vocational skill sets.
Right.
Like not all vets have the skill set that I have. You know, some are mechanics, some are, you know, very good at legal stuff, personnel stuff, and other things. But like, you know, let's just say I'll use the Navy, for example, because that's where I was. You know, I learned to work on pneumatics, electronics, and hydraulics on a big Navy ship. And that sort of crosses back over to regular life, but nothing specific. Like there's nothing like that's specifically to that. So, you know, so the GIGO fund also helps to fund vocational training so that, you know, these guys and girls can go and find a job for this new vocational training. So you have like your military experience, but then you also have a specific skill set that you can go and get a job and be successful in life, or start a business and become entrepreneurs. So they support all of these things for both veterans and first responders, primarily in the New Jersey, New York area. Last year, I think we raised a little over $300,000.
Wow.
I don't know how much we'll raise this year,
Wow.
but I know that there's about 150, a little over 150 SEALs, other veterans, patriots, and first responders that are going to be on this swim. So it starts in New Jersey, I think in Open Sky Park, wherever that is.
Okay.
We grab a bunch of flags. There's a whole ceremony. We do like probably 100 push-ups there. Then we run about 2 miles down to some other park along the Hudson.
Right.
And we'll probably do another couple 100 push-ups there. Then we get in the water. We swim out to a barge at the Statue of Liberty. We climb on the barge. We do 100 push-ups and 22 pull-ups. The 100 push-ups is 50 is for extortion 17, which is the largest loss of SEALs in the war. And so we lost a tremendous amount of SEALs. A helicopter was shot down. These guys were coming in to do, quick reaction force, and the helicopter got shot down. So extortion 17, we do 50 for them, and 50 for, this is the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So we do 50 more. Then we get back in the water. We swim over to Ellis Island. We do it again, 22 and 100 push-ups. Then we get back in the water. We swim over to Lower Manhattan. We grabbed our flags. We run to the 9/11 memorial. Outside the 9/11 memorial, we do another 22 and 100. And then there's a little ceremony where we go in and we place flags at the memorial. And then the event is over. It's about 3 miles of running and about 3 miles of swimming.
Wow.
And if you've never swam or been in the Hudson River, there's a tremendous amount of current there that is not awesome. I'm just going to leave it at that. It can, there was some serious current in there last year that made it a lot harder than what it should have been, but
wow,
it is what it is. That's what we're doing. We're not doing it because it's easy. We're doing it because it's hard.
Right.
And if you're able to inject doing hard things in your life will be better, because you're like, oh my God, that was really hard. And I feel really great that I did it. And so you celebrate that, and you go do something hard again. And then you go do something hard again. And that's part of that, like just getting better in your life. And so this is a fundraising event. And there is, I think I sent you a link where people can donate if they want to.
You know what? Do me a favor.
I'll send it to you after this.
Yeah, send it to me after this. And it's time to kind of wind down. You know what? I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, because your life, your world, your energy, your background, I'm so fascinated and inspired by it, and I cannot thank you enough, William. And you know what, I hope I could actually get to that event. So I'm gonna Google it. I'm saying this on air. I would love to, we'll talk after,
Sure.
off air. But anyway, thank you for this time, and thank you for your passion and your energy and the work that you're doing. And please do come back. Please, I'd love to come back. And I guess best thing is to say aloha.
Right, aloha. Before we go, really quickly.
Yes.
If people want that document that you have, 5 SEAL Secrets, go to 5 SEALsecrets.com.
Wait,
put your email address in there.
I'm writing it down. 5, go ahead.
5 SEAL Secrets in there. You just put your name in and email address in there. I will email you a link, because it's kind of a large document. So you'll get a link to my Google Drive, and you can download that document. And even though I came up with it, I still reference it and go back and read over that document about once a week, just to kind of remind myself of my own lessons, my own sort of convictions, and it's just kind of a self reminder. So it's a free document. People have said you should turn that into an ebook and sell it. I don't need to sell it. I mean, I would love to make more money, but what I want to do is I want to bring value to people and help change people's mindset. So just go to 5sealsecrets.com, put in your email, and you'll get that document right there. It's got some cool pictures in it. You know, you can print it out and then roll from there.
Perfect.
And hopefully
Perfect,
people use it in their life, and that just becomes, you know, on everyone's desk at work or pinned up somewhere, just so that, you know, you can spread the word on like 5 ways to think like a Navy SEAL.
And there's nobody quite on earth quite like a Navy SEAL. So if you can think like them, it should help you in life. And you've helped me. And again, signing off. Thank you so much, William.
Thank you, sir.
And to be continued. Thank you.